tonight's movie is a movie called Vivarium. I stumbled across it on Amazon Videos, and it's listed as a horror mystery slash comedy. And I think they really hit the nail on the head with that title description. Kind of the overall story of the movie is this couple is looking at buying a house, and they stop by this real estate place, and they meet this gentleman named Martin, who then leads them to a housing development called Yonder, and they go and check out one of the houses and then realize that they are basically trapped in an infinite loop of this place. They try leaving and driving around the neighborhood and stuff like that and keep always ending back up in this house. And then they're poised with trying to figure out how to get out of here or what they're going to do to escape. So right off the bat, Martin is creepy. Like the second you meet him, he's just very odd. He's got these really piercing blue eyes, and he's very like, how can I help you today? Which is just sketchy. And then furthermore, Martin's wearing a white button-up shirt with sleeves. Not necessarily like a button-up shirt where you like roll the sleeves up. No, this one is just bow sleeves. I don't trust anybody who just wears a button-up short sleeve shirt. That's not okay. And then kind of playing more into Martin's creepiness and just weirdness, he drives a Nissan Cube. I don't know anybody who has driven a Nissan Cube and is like, this is a car that I want. Unless you're crazy. Martin. Another kind of random thing is the like housing development community area is named Yonder, which I wonder what gave them inspiration for that, because I know like, oh, over yonder like is an expression, and I wonder if that's what that's like, they intentionally made it that. Which I thought was kind of a cool name for a housing development nonetheless. Like, oh yeah, I just live over yonder. And literally it's Yonder. They're kind of stuck in this place and starting to realize like, okay, we can't get out. So let's see what we can try to figure out about this place. Tom goes up on the roof on a ladder and then looks and just sees infinitely rooftops exactly the same and infinitely clouds and stuff in the same direction. And it has a very like dreamscapey feel to it. The first person shots where you can actually see through the windshield as they're driving around, everything's very uniform and very just the exact same. And so I thought it was kind of cool that it kind of gives you that kind of dreamscapey and lets you know like this isn't normal, even before like you find out that like things are kind of going awry. Another really weird thing is the box of stuff that they receive. It seems like whoever put them in this different realm or universe or whatever this is, to me it seems like it's a simulation of some form, and something is watching them, because like rations just show up in a box. It seems like everything from this mysterious being comes from a box, and so like that's like their means of communication with this thing. And then I don't know, there's just a baby and the box says release or raise the baby to be released. So then now you kind of have an idea, okay, well, this is what we need to do. Let's figure this out. And then it just skips ahead. And there's a little kid that speaks in a really weird voice, as if he's voiced over by like an older gentleman. And you find out that it's the same baby, and it's only been 98 days. And this thing's already gone from like an infant baby in a box to easily like a 9-10-year-old in 90 days. So things are kind of weird there, and it mimics the parents, and I noticed it kind of mimics the mom more than Tom. I'm going to call the kid Martin for the rest of this video just because that's what it looks like, a miniature Martin. And so Tom starts smoking outside one day. He's just hanging out, and that's kind of like his vice, like his thing that's just like, oh, I'm going to relax. And he throws the cigarette, or he flicks a cigarette at the kid, and it bounces off, and then it lands on the ground, and the ground like just like right around it, to where the grass doesn't burn or anything like that, but then there's just dirt. And so it gives Tom the idea of like, okay, I'm going to dig. So he starts digging and digging and digging, and that just kind of becomes what he does for the majority of the rest of the film, or the next like several days, as he just digs. And after he gets past a little layer of dirt, then there's kind of like this like foam clay stuff that he's getting down to. And so it's kind of weird, and it kind of leaves you thinking like, what is happening here? One thing that I thought was really well done and just a really beautiful thing within the film is at one point they end up sitting back in their car, which is long since run out of gas, and accidentally, I think it's Tom that accidentally bumps the stereo and the music starts playing. And they both get really happy because it's just been the same routine every day, raising this kid, dealing with this screaming child, like just parenting effectively, but for something that grows at a ridiculous rate. And then they have just a song playing that's in their car, and it's just like a song that they obviously know. And to have that comfort object, if you will, and them dancing in the streets, listening to the music and stuff like that, just something like that is normal everyday life. And so I thought it was really, really cool, and I really think that it's a pretty beautiful thing when they put that in movies. Another movie that kind of does a similar thing is a movie called Interstellar, where they're traveling through space for ages, and it's the dead of space, so it's dead silent and everything like that. And one of the guys has a pair of headphones with like an iPod or something, and it's literally just the sound of crickets, which is just something from back home that he's used to, and so it makes it feel more normal. Later on in the movie, it's mentioned the wind. Tom mentions to Gemma, do you remember the wind? Because apparently there's no wind in this place. And it's a weird thing that you don't think about, but it's just an everyday thing that's normal. And so when you're not experiencing it all the time, like, you miss those things. So I really like when they do that in films. As the film kind of progresses, it seems like they start splitting apart. Like, Gemma doesn't really care for this thing and says, like, I'm not your mother to it all the time. And Tom just kind of just says, screw it, it's not actually a thing. Gemma calls the child him, and Tom calls it, because it's not really a human child. It's growing at extremely accelerated rates. So they kind of start splitting, and it kind of drives a wedge between them, and like what they should do with the kid, what they shouldn't do with the kid. Moving forward in the story, things progress even more. The kid, the timeline seems to jump. Like, you get a snippet here, and a snippet here. So as it moves on, it goes from the kid being a kid, or Martin being a kid, to like Martin's like a young adult or like a teenager. It's weird to see the progress of that in this time, which kind of gives you the illusion of like a lot of times passed, but then when you kind of do the math in your head of like how long it took him to be from a baby to 10 years old to what he is now, probably all in all, it's like at least 200 days. So they've been in this place for a long time, and Tom's been digging forever, and he doesn't really find anything. Like, he just keeps digging and digging, and the hole's getting to the point where he has to like pulley system up dirt with a bucket and then like climb a ladder down it every day. Moving into the more spoiler zone, the mom realizes that there's something different about the kid, and he disappears for a day, and she tries looking for him. She walks all over, and obviously it's just like when you walk, you basically are just walking in a circle back. And then he finally just shows up with this weird book with all these weird images and writings in it and stuff like that. And so she figures out a way to trick him to find out like where he went, because he says that he can't say. And she kind of tricks him, and he gets these weird like neck bulges going, which kind of remind me of like that of like a frog. How like a frog, when it's doing its like ribbit thingy, it does that burp, burp, burp. Like, it's weird. And like almost instantly after that, it fast forwards to the point where Martin's a young adult, teenager, whatever you want to call it. I don't really understand what's happening necessarily, and maybe I missed something, but Tom is now really sick. And he's got bruises all over his back. So I think that maybe like something happened with Martin and Tom, that like an altercation or something like that, because obviously Tom was just super shut off to this thing. It seems like they're like barricading themselves in their bedroom now, like hiding from Martin, and things just get kind of weird. And as Tom goes about his routine of waking up, climbing down the hole, digging, he finds a body bag. You can see a face underneath the body bag, but he doesn't really show much. And then like he like gets out of the hole, and then things just kind of keep progressing to the point where Tom just kind of ends up getting really sick and dying. Martin takes off for the day to school or wherever the hell he keeps going. And then Gemma's just left with this dead body. And miraculously, Martin shows back up with another box from whoever. And it has a body bag in it. And proceeds to put Tom's body in it and then throw him down in the hole. It kind of has me curious if this is just like an infinite loop thing. Because there's already a body bag down there, which means somebody dug down that far, and then a body bag ended up down there, however it got there. Now there's another body there. It's just kind of weird. And then Gemma kind of snaps and ends up sleeping in her car, and then tries to sneak up and attack Martin with a pickaxe, ends up getting him across the face, and he starts making these weird like clicking, hissing noises and crawling on the ground backwards, and then like goes to the sidewalk and literally just lifts the sidewalk up and like crawls under it. Which, if this is where you start watching the video, I sound like I'm on drugs. Like, you kind of feel like it when you're watching this movie. It's so bizarre and weird. Gemma figures out to like wedge it to get under there and start chasing him, and starts falling through like, I kind of want to say like different universes, if you will, because like it seems like this tunnel ended up being like a highway system between these, because she goes in and ends up falling through a door and ends up in the living room of the house, but there's a different girl sitting at the table who basically is in Gemma's position raising the child, and then she ends up like quicksanding through the floor and landing in the bedroom, and there's a guy and a girl and they're having sex in the bed, and there's another mini Martin at the door watching. So it kind of gives you the idea that like this is like multiple different sequences of this happening to different people. So I don't know necessarily simulation, like I said, like alternate universes, like something bigger is happening here. Gemma just kind of starts getting sick too. Like, it doesn't really explain, but she's just emotionally distraught from Tom dying and everything like that, and then ends up in a body bag because Martin brings one home and puts her in it, and he's telling her like, okay, it's time to go to sleep, and zips her in it, and then like does a little like vacuum seal thing, and then all of a sudden she's just being dragged out and thrown down in the hole too. So they're both dead at this point. And then Martin puts gas in her car that I imagine he got somewhere, and somehow he's able to drive out of this loop back to the original realtor shop and basically relieves Martin, the original Martin from the beginning, of his duties, and he's super old now, like about to die old. And then he just croaks. And then the new Martin, which is the kid from this little story that we had, just takes his place and now is the realtor, and then some other people walk in and he steps in and the cycle continues. Oh, like, I don't know. Like, it's such a bizarre movie, and there's so many weird things about it. There's humorous elements to it, so I kind of guess I see why it was partially listed as a comedy. But it's also just so bizarre. I didn't really think it was that much of a horror movie as much as it was kind of like a mystery. I guess I get because of like the isolation aspect and the fact that the Martin is like a creature alien thingy that has these weird neck bulges and can just lift up cement and crawl under it. I'm real curious if anybody has seen this movie. If you have any idea what was going on, please comment, let me know. I don't necessarily want to say this was a bad movie, but it wasn't, in my opinion, a super great movie. I like that there's all of this like weird stuff, and some things are really well done, some things are not so great done. The CGI of them driving infinitely in this circle, and like the CGI of like through the windshield, just looks very CGI. It doesn't look super realistic. And there's a lot of things that aren't explained. And that's not always like something that has to happen, but I feel like there was so much that wasn't explained that I just didn't pick up on. And usually I'm pretty good at picking up on things in movies. So like, for me personally, this one's kind of a miss. It's nowhere near as bad as Hell House was, so I don't want to say like, oh, I'm going to give this one a 5 or a 6. I think I give Hell House a 6. I don't know, but I'm going to say probably a 6 on this one. It was definitely something different than what I'd seen before, but it just was so bizarre and so unanswered. And to me, that again it's a miss. I like bizarre, I like weird, but there's just too much that wasn't explained. Like weird flashing images on the TV screen, and that didn't make any sense. The book that he brought home like you see for 2 seconds, like doesn't make any sense other than it kind of alludes to the fact that maybe he's an alien or something different. So there just wasn't a whole lot. So I think I'm going to stick with that. Again, the movie is Vivarium. It's on Amazon Prime Video for free right now. If you want to check it out, go for it. That'll be it for this one, I think.